There's so many life updates to share with you guys in this video, but Hayden, here, I'll set you here. This little bench is like perfect. Hayden is he's almost 6 months old. He's 6 months old this week, but he got his first tooth. Huh? Your first toothers? What do you see out there that you're so interested in? The palm trees? He's just like staring, like so in awe of those palm trees blowing in the wind, huh? It's a very breezy day here in Hawaii. Yeah, but isn't he like so big now, you guys? Like, I just look at him every single day when I get him out of the crib and I'm just like, you're growing so fast on me. Like, you're my baby. And he's kind of starting to say some like babbly words. Like, he'll answer almost a yes sometimes. He said more the other day. I started him on solids and I was feeding him sweet potatoes. We started with peas first and he did not like the peas, but then when I gave him the sweet potatoes, he said like more. He was like, Ma! So you liked the sweet potatoes, didn't you? Didn't you? I think he's gonna be ready for a nap here though. So I'm gonna put him down and then I have so much to fill you guys in on. Be right back. So in this video, I just have a ton of different life updates and questions that you guys asked me on my last community tab post that I wanted to answer. And I'll just start off with a huge life update, and that is that we have bought a house here in Hawaii. So we moved back in January here to Hawaii to a rental because we wanted to be 100% sure that this is where we wanted to relocate our family, since my husband had lived in Ohio his entire life and I lived in Ohio my entire life as well, except for 2 years that I was teaching in Baltimore, Maryland. So it was a very different change of pace for our family, and we searched and searched and searched, and I kind of took you along on some of the house hunting process for months, and it was really, really competitive here. Like, I think all around the country, if you're buying a house right now, you probably know what I'm talking about. And we are just so grateful because we prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed that if this was the right move, we were going to find a house, that the offer would be accepted. And we just found out at the beginning of this month that our offer was accepted on what honestly is like our dream house. It's the dream location. The property is like overlooking the mountains, and it has just like so much room for us to grow and make this home into our own. And it also is a house that like it's going to allow me to, I feel like, lean into being a bit more minimal, because it's like downsizing from our Ohio house, which if you like look back at videos when we were in our Ohio house, we definitely had tons of space in that house for our family, and I'm so grateful and I love that house so much. But it also, I feel like in COVID was sort of a wake-up call for me to be like, wow, cleaning, you know, every single day, what needed to get done was just taking hours away from what I wanted to like spend with my family. So I do just think sometimes less is more, and living a bit simpler is something that I think will just help me, my mental health, a lot. I know like when I've done declutter videos in the past, just like all the clutter, it just ties so much into your mental health. And the more you grow and realize like, wow, it's people and memories and the things that we do together is what matters to me so much more than the things, right? So I'm just really excited for this next chapter, and I'm just so grateful to everybody who has been so kind and loving and supportive of our family and our decision to make what's a really big change. And you know, 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago now, when I started my YouTube channel, I would have never have told you like this is what was going to happen to our family, and it truly is because of this community here and your love and your support for our family, and like just sticking along with me on this journey that I've been on. And I'm just so appreciative to you, and I'm so grateful for it to you. And as always, if you know you ever need a prayer, if you ever need support from our community, I hope you let everybody know down in the comments below. But I just want you to know like I'm so grateful to you. And yeah, I just this dream, I honestly, I didn't think that this dream would ever probably come true until like my husband and I would be retiring, because that's what we always joked. It's like, oh, we're going to retire on the beach someday. And I don't know, if you've followed along since I lost my dad, which is coming upon like 2 years now this Father's Day, my dad's biggest thing that he said to me was, don't wait until you retire, because He was diagnosed with MS in his late 50s and, you know, ended up passing away at 67, which, you know, I think like sounded old when I was really young, but like I know now that's really not old. And I think just sometimes, like, if you're waiting for permission for somebody to tell you like now's the time to do something, maybe this video can help you be like, do it now. Like, stop waiting, stop thinking of it's, oh, I'm gonna do this someday, or I'm gonna make this happen someday. No, like, make it happen now, because you don't know what day is going to be your last here on this earth. And so you might as well do what can make you happy, you know, as long as it's not something like destructive or like harming other people. So yeah, you only live this life once, so try to live it to its fullest. But okay, let me look on my phone. I wanted to just like say that announcement, and then I can answer some of like the questions that had to do with all of that. Valerie Kathman asked, I know you will have some renos that you want to do. Will you show some inspiration of what you're thinking of doing? So, and sorry if this is confusing, because I did share the news on Instagram, so I think some people who maybe follow on Instagram and Bits of Brie over there like knew a little bit before this video, right, about like the house. So yes, I definitely do want to take you along the process. Like, I already have so many ideas of things that we're going to be doing outside and inside, and we're actually meeting with builders in a couple of weeks because we do want to be like building on to the home too. So I have so many ideas. I cannot wait to take you along in the process on here, and I'm sure I'll also be like asking for, you know, on the poll thing, like what your opinions are on a couple of things, or for those of you who have renovated your home or added on those kind of things. I would totally love hearing your expertise and advice. That's like why I'm so appreciative of this community, because I feel like people are always willing to share their experience and their advice. So thank you in advance. I'm sure I'll probably be asking you for a bunch of help. Anna Phillip asked, why did you move to Hawaii? So I feel like Hawaii, if you have never been here, it's truly like climate-wise ideal. It never really gets above 80 and it never really gets below 60 degrees. So every day is pretty much a perfect day weather-wise, and it's like quite literally sunshine and rainbows. And it just is. It's a place where then when you get here too, the culture of aloha. So if you don't know what aloha means, it's like the greeting for hi, bye, but it also means like love and respect and togetherness. And I think one of the most beautiful things that I was told when, you know, we first were looking for a house, and I was talking to the lender, and she had moved here from the mainland years ago, and she just explained to me, like, in New Jersey where she was from, it's about like the brand name of the shoes, right? She's like, but here it's about how many shoes are on your porch on a Sunday when you're having a barbecue with your friends and family. And that really is what it feels like here. Is it's not the things that matters, it's not materialistic, it's not how big your house is, it's about like spending time with your loved ones and community and respecting the earth. And there's just so much to this place that I just, like, once you're here, it is so hard to leave. Like, you just fall in love with it, and we all feel so happy here. And I love Ohio, and I'm so grateful to have gotten to grow up in that place, because I think it has its own unique things as far as like growing up and being in the Midwest. And I love the 4 seasons. Like, I'm definitely going to be coming back. We've like already decided, like, we will be visiting friends and family every summer, and we'll come back for holidays. And depending on like the kids' school, there's like a fall break and a spring break. So I'm sure we'll probably pick one of those two to like come back to and still get to like experience the 4 seasons. And you guys know we're like a traveling family. If you've followed like prior to this last year with COVID, I mean, we were traveling all of the time. And I think that's a piece of it too, is that, you know, kind of think of it as like a wound, right? Like, you can keep putting a band-aid on a wound, but if you don't actually fix what the true issue is of like why it keeps bleeding, you're never going to actually heal. And I think living in Ohio, travel was kind of the band-aid. Like, we would leave multiple times when the weather was bad, because quite honestly, like, seasonal depression and just like, it really gets, I know maybe some people, it doesn't happen to you, but if you know what I'm talking about, it's like that dark, cloudy, dreary, cold snow, ice from October into May. I mean, it kind of brings you down. And then I think when you live in a place like this, it's just, totally mood altering and life altering. And so I think that was a piece of it too, that my husband and I like had the feeling like, hey, we should try this out and move to Hawaii, and maybe that will help some of, you know, the seasonal depression and anxiety that I feel. And I think it really has altered that, and that's why we don't want to give that up, because at the end of the day, I want to be the happiest, best mom that I can be for my kids. And, you know, we were able to make this move. It was difficult. Of course, it's really, really hard to leave friends and family, but like, you probably have realized as you live your life, like, you can either keep living for other people and you're probably not going to be happy, or if you make the decisions that really make you happy, somebody's not going to approve of that. And it's hard, especially as a people pleaser. Like, I know that there's definitely friends and family that I've disappointed with this decision, but I think even though they're sad and I will miss them, and I know that they're probably coming out of a place of love because they'll miss me and the kids, that they want me to be happy, just like I want them to be happy. Like, if they came to me and was like, hey, we're gonna move here because that's going to ultimately be better for me and my family, I would be so sad and I would miss them. But like, you have to let people do what's best for them and their family. So I kind of got a lot of answers to that, but yeah, that's why we moved to Hawaii, and that's why we decided that this is what was going to be best for our family. And, you know, Adam just wants to be the happiest dad. I want to be the happiest mom I can be, so that our family can have happy memories. Because, yeah, you never know in life when your last day on this earth is going to be. So just trying to make it as happy as we can for our kids. This one made me laugh. MK asked, previously being a teacher, are you surprised how many fellow followers think Hawaii is another country? LOL. So yes, so I don't know if it's maybe necessarily people who don't live in the US who don't realize that Hawaii is a state, because I mean, it did happen relatively like not that long ago, but it is the 50th state. It is one of the United States, so we're still in the US, but it's not connected to the mainland, obviously, so it has quite a bit of differences. But yes, a lot of people, I think, thought we like moved to another country, and no, we're still in the US, just a very different environment. I know it's funny, when we went on this tour in Maui, the tour guide, because he was born here, and so I always like ask, because I want to learn about the culture, right? And I want to make sure I'm pronouncing, I can't even say that word right, pronouncing things correctly, to be respectful. Like, I feel like that's so important when it comes to names. Like, people always mispronounce my name and say Brianna, even though I know like some people with the same spelling as me, that's how they say their name, but I say mine Brianna, like rhymes with banana. And so I always just want to make sure that whether it's a place, a name, whatever, that I'm like learning how to say it appropriately, because I know what it's like when you hear your name like said the wrong way. So I was talking to him about a bunch of stuff, and he's like, yeah, it's funny, so you're like Ohio to Oahu, and I was like, oh, you say it Oahu? And he's like, yes, because I think like most people will say Oahu, or like even Hawaii, like with the W, but technically it's say Hawaii is how you're supposed to say it. I'm saying it a little too harsh, like not as harsh as a V, but you get my point. I just try to be really respectful of all those things. But he's like, I think that's so cool that it's like Ohio to Oahu. He's like, it's like so similar. And I was like, yeah, it's like that could be like a hashtag or something, Ohio to Oahu, or like, I don't know, maybe I need to do like a series on my blog about moving about that. But he thought it was funny. Anyways. Brooke Maloney asked, were you expecting there to be so much backlash over your move to Hawaii? Do you think it's because you guys waited and didn't say anything about it in the process? I didn't expect there to be, I think, the backlash that there was, but I think 2020, like I always, whenever somebody is upset about something, I think sometimes like people will get really, really defensive, and I've always, I don't know, I think I always try to be like, why are you so mad? Or like, what is it that's going on with you that's making you so mad about this? And if I put myself in other people's shoes, we were locked in our houses. I mean, like, literally, I just put myself in how I was feeling. Like, I found out I was pregnant a couple days into the lockdown, was absolutely terrified because there was so many unknowns at that point. my OBs also, there was so many unknowns. Like their recommendations to me was like, if you can stay in your house and not go anywhere, you should, because God forbid you get COVID and you lose the baby. Like, could you live with yourself? And for me personally, that terrified me. I did not want to do anything that would make me lose my baby. Like, I think being able to be pregnant is like the most precious gift that we're given on this earth. And so I locked myself in my house. There was like a couple of random times that I went out with literally, I mean, you guys saw it, it was like a mask and a shield at like the special hours in the morning where I could go to Walmart and Target when like no one else was in the store to try to get some of the Christmas decorations or like decor for, you know, those videos that brought me joy. And I tried to do things that still brought me joy, but quite honestly, I was miserable. And my point in all this is I think everybody was freaking miserable. Like, our freedoms got taken away from us in so many ways. And then there was such political divisiveness that everybody was fighting with their friends and family if you didn't think the same way as them, or at least that's how it felt. Even if you didn't want to fight about it, it feels like I would still get like, just saying, like, you'd get texts and emails and that kind of stuff, and it was just stressful, even if you don't want to talk about it. And even if you said, I don't want to talk about it, I feel like there was still like boundaries that weren't necessarily respected. And I just want to say that in all of this is, I'm sure that about 50% of people watching this, because that's clearly how like our country voted, right? You might think differently than me, but there's probably a lot of other things we have in common. Like, maybe we didn't vote for the same person, but we love Disney World. Like, I have friends like that, right? So it's like, let's just connect over what we love and what brings us together. And you should have your own opinions on everything, right? Because your walk of life is different than my walk of life. And can't we just respect the fact that maybe you're going to feel differently about something because of what you've gone through? And I'm going to feel differently about things because of what I've gone through and what I've seen and what I've witnessed. And that doesn't mean that we have to like stop being friends or that we shouldn't talk to our family. And I think there's so many people who are really, really hurting right now just because of everything that happened, between being locked in your house, of losing loved ones because of COVID, of losing loved ones because of political divisiveness and disagreements. And yeah, this was the traumatizing year. So I think for people who probably were in the same shoes of feeling like, I am locked in my house and I can't go anywhere, because that's ultimately what even led us to make this decision, was like, if I'm going to be locked in my house, I at least want to be able to go outside in my backyard and like feel happy. And in Ohio, I just couldn't do that. And like, you guys know I'm a planner. So we made the decision about Hawaii back before my kids even started school. Because once we realized that the kids weren't going to go back to school, that in and of itself was like, oh my God, I'm grieving the loss of my baby going to kindergarten. Like, Leanna was going to kindergarten. Like, that is such a big deal. Like, as a mom, since I had him, I feel like that's one of those things you're like, I'm gonna put my baby on the bus and like see him go to school, right? And then like, that was taken away and put so much pressure on me being pregnant, knowing that I was going to have this new baby. Because we kind of even planned this pregnancy of like, okay, we'll have the new baby when the two kids are in school, because Presley was also supposed to be starting preschool. So Presley didn't get to start preschool in the fall the way that I'd also envisioned, you know, dropping her off at preschool. So yeah, I'm kind of venting my feelings here, but I hope you don't mind. I think that's like, you know, helpful to kind of just hear what other people have gone through. But anyways, yeah, like the year was just, we knew it was not going to be anything like what we'd envisioned for our children. And knowing Ohio weather and knowing how when the lockdown started in March, it had literally snowed until like May of 2020. So those first couple months of lockdown was just so awful. And all I could think of is, I know I've already had a really, really hard time postpartum with my first two. Definitely was never diagnosed with postpartum depression or anxiety, even though I answered everything in the doctor's office honestly and would talk about what I was going through. Still was never diagnosed with it. But like, you just know when things are off and you are not normal. And I think sleep deprivation always has a lot to do with it. Like, you can Google it. Sleep deprivation causes anxiety and depression. Like, so if you're sleep deprived, anywho, it's just, I knew all of these things being then a third-time mom. Like, I know I'm going to go through a really hard postpartum time. I know that in particular then for like our marriage, that has always been the hardest time. And I was like, we're getting a coach. So we did. We got a relationship coach, and we actually work with like a coach, and like it's a husband and wife team. Like they do like therapy for both of us, which is like so helpful to have like the masculine and feminine perspective. But anywho, so we did that preemptively, and I feel like that has definitely helped, because it is not easy going through the postpartum period on a marriage. It takes its toll. And yeah, it was just the thought of, from October, when it usually gets cold in Ohio, to May, being with all 3 kids, them not going to school, having then like that extra pressure of like being the teacher there for them with a newborn, knowing that our marriage would go through difficulty. I quite honestly, I was like, there could be a scenario here where we end up divorced, and I've then ruined 3 children's lives. And I don't know, just after you have a baby, I mean, if you've felt the depression and where you've like questioned if you've really felt depression and you've questioned whether or not you should still exist, it's a very scary place. I really didn't want to cry on this update, but so yeah, so last summer I kind of knew all the things that I'm talking about, and that's why I was like, what can we do here? And my coach back then, like, really, she talked to me and she's like, if you could like envision yourself being really, really happy, like what does your environment look like? Like, what would you need to not get to that place again? And I basically described like Hawaii, right? And so we started looking into it all then, like booked the rental house then. And quite honestly, I think some people were like, why didn't you say anything about this? I didn't know if it was actually going to happen. Like, it almost felt like it was too good to be true. It was like what I held on to. And I was almost worried, like, I'm going to say we're doing this, and like there would be another COVID lockdown, or they were gonna like cancel flights. Because I honestly thought, like, okay, if we're gonna leave when it's like January and it's after the holidays, and everybody was talking about how like the holidays was when everything was going to be spread, and I was like, what if they just say like you can't come into the state, or all flights are canceled, or I don't know. When you're just like living in a world where you're like, I have no idea what the next policy is going to be, like what the next restriction is going to be. It stinks, like living in that state of fear that we've all been in. It's just horrible. So yeah, I think I didn't say anything about it because it was almost like, this is my dream and it's too good to be true, and if I like say it, it's gonna go away. And I just didn't want to deal with like any more devastation, or like, I don't know, I don't know if that makes sense, but that's basically why I didn't talk about it. Like, we've had it planned for a long time, and I just didn't know. I kind of felt like, yeah, it was too good to be true. So, okay, I'm gonna move on to the next question. Leslie Ann had asked, are you keeping your old home? What did you do with your stuff in your old home? So we don't know yet. We still haven't figured out if we're going to keep it or sell it. Adam's leaning towards that he wants to sell it, and I'm like 90% of the way there. It's just so hard. I mean, you guys know, like, I love that house and I put in so much work on that house, and so it's really, really hard to like let that home go, if that makes sense. And like, it just holds so much for our families, but I'm just keep praying on it. However, if we do end up leaving that house, we just will not be bringing like the house that we have here. Again, we're downsizing, so we're not going to be bringing that much stuff. So if you are in the Cleveland area, keep on the lookout if there's like any furniture, decor, stuff like that, because I'll probably be, I don't know whether it's like Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or whatever, like I'll let you guys know if there's any stuff that I'm going to be getting rid of when we move, because we're not going to technically move here until after my best friend gets married July 31st. So we'll move back here after her wedding, and the kids actually start school the first week of August here, so like school starts a lot earlier here too. So it will be like a very fast transition back to Hawaii after all of that, but that's why we're going home this summer. Because so when I fly home, I have her bachelorette party that weekend, and then there's so much in Ohio this summer. So Hayden's christening, so we're doing his christening there because that's where the godparents are. My best friend Dina and her husband are the godmother and godfather. and obviously our families can then be there. And then my husband's brothers, like they're having a baby, his wife's pregnant. We're so excited. So that's actually going to be our kid's like first cousin, so we're like so excited. But her baby shower, and we're also trying to figure out if we can have my sister-in-law's wedding shower this summer when we're home, because it had gotten canceled last year because of COVID too. And I feel like there's other stuff that's, oh, I'm going to Disney with my best friend Gina this summer too. So there's a lot of fun stuff that's happening this summer. So that's why we're going to be home for a bit, and then we'll move here like officially so that the kids can be starting school. And like Presley got into a really awesome preschool here too. Like I'm so excited for her. I'm just so excited for them. And I feel like, I hope everybody just feels like they can be having some sort of a fresh start like this summer and fall too in some way. Like, dear Lord, I pray every day, like, please just like let people find happiness again. Like, please let us all just find happiness. Like, maybe let's all just pray together right now. Like, please let life go back to where it is happier more than anything else. Like, please. And then Tulip Hayward asked, does Adam still have his job because he started a YouTube? Wondered if he decided to switch gears. So that was another big decision that, I don't know, I didn't really talk about it publicly until now, but when we moved to Hawaii, we decided as a family that Adam was going to put in his 2 weeks notice, and he has been working for my business and my company ever since then, and it has just allowed like just so much more flexibility for us and our family. And I'm just really grateful that I have a husband who believes in me and supports me and is like encouraging me to just follow this dream and this passion of mine, because it really, like, nothing makes me happier than getting to share, whether it's cleaning, decorating, or whatever I can do just to like help other people. And I feel like YouTube has just been the best way for me to be able to do that. So I'm so appreciative of his support and just the fact that we can be a team in raising our kids and in our business. Abby O asked, do you have a large team that helps you? So I do have a team of people. Molly, my photographer, still helps with like editing stuff if I need help with editing, and she always like filters any of my photos for like Instagram. I send them all to her, so she helps with all of that. And then I have my assistant who helps with anything I need as far as like, let's see, blog stuff. She does all of my pins for Pinterest. If I ever need like certain graphics made for anything, she helps with all of that stuff. And she's just kind of like ongoing support for anything, whether it's like stuff with my courses that I might need help on. She does like all my scheduling too. Like, she has control of my calendar. So if it's like calls or anything like that. And then I am signed with a management company, and I have a manager who's wonderful. It's so funny. She actually moved here to Hawaii the same time that we did. So it's been really cool because it's like, oh my gosh, she was based in LA, and we would have never like really crossed paths unless I had like gone to LA to do something, or if we'd had, you know, a brand that required like both of us to be there. But it's been really nice to get to know her face to face here. She's amazing. I'm just so appreciative of her, and just all the opportunities and blessings that she's brought to us and our family. So that's the team. And then we do have a babysitter here that we found because she's our realtor's daughter. And she's amazing. And yeah, that's just like when we need the help, which is 1 to 2 nights a week, is so that like Adam and I can have date night, alone time, and all that. TT Beast asks, how many hours a week would you say that you work on YouTube, brands, gathering ideas, all of it combined? I know 3 kids is like 3 full-time jobs, but just dedicated to the other. So it really can depend on the week. If I have more brand heavy content, that always takes me way longer to work on because I'm a perfectionist and I want to make the brands really, really happy. And sometimes there can be like a lot in that process. So what I mean by that is if, you know, you are creating content, whether it's for Instagram or for YouTube, and a brand approaches you about working with you, I have my manager now who kind of negotiates all of that back and forth email as far as, okay, like what are the deliverables that they're asking for? Are they asking for a video? Are they asking for an Instagram picture, an Instagram story, a blog post, pins? You know, it can be a gamut of things. Sometimes they want multiple things, like a TikTok and a YouTube video. So she handles all of that negotiation. And then there will be a contract that I do, like with my management, I have a legal team too, like a lawyer who reviews the contract and makes sure that like everything in the contract is legit before I ever sign it. And then there can oftentimes be an intro call. So those intro calls can be anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour with you and the brand, and you could be brainstorming the creative ideas. A lot of times they on their end have some legal things of like, these things cannot be shown in the video, or these things cannot be in the background, or you have to make sure that you're not wearing clothes that have any other brand or logo on them. There can just be tons of issues. And I talk about a lot of these things in my course, by the way. So like, I'm assuming maybe you're asking this out of a place of like, you want to explore, you know, YouTube or having a social business, right? So that's going to be the intro call of like figuring out all of those details before I ever even produce anything. And then I do a lot of the, you know, thinking of, okay, you know, it can be anything from what's the outfit that I'm going to be wearing being, or if it's like for our whole family, like what is it that we all need to wear to, again, make sure that we're like adhering to the guidelines. Making sure that day that like whatever, you know, if it's hair, makeup, or if there's food that I need to buy, like if it's something where I'm like making a recipe, that all of those things, like whatever items are needed, are purchased and ready to go. And so like there's planning for that, right? And then the actual like production day where we're doing the shoot or I'm making the video, whatnot. I mean, that could be 1 hour to a couple hours, again, just depending kind of like the prep. If it's something very easy, you know, if it's just like, oh, you're just supposed to wear this outfit, that can go a lot faster than having to actually make a recipe. That could take a couple of hours of like shooting different parts of the process, or like cleaning something, right? Like that could take an hour to 2 hours, just depending on like what you have to do and how much. Cleaning videos generally take me 6 to 8 hours to film. Like it is a full day of filming if I'm doing like an extreme clean with me, right? Because I'm cleaning all around the house. And even though it wouldn't take me that long if I wasn't filming, like the setting up of the camera and different angles, and like then making sure, is the footage good? Did I actually like film everything that I wanted to get? It just takes a little bit more behind the scenes time. And then the actual editing of those videos, if it is like a lengthy extreme clean with me and it's like 30 to 40 minutes by the time I like speed the footage up, add the music, do my voiceover, the editing process could take anywhere from like 3 to 4 hours, sometimes faster. It just depends. I can usually edit things really, really quickly, but sometimes like the voiceover, like writing out what I want to say and making sure I've explained everything that I want to explain, can just take a bit longer. And then once the video is actually done, creating the thumbnail for it. So making like, okay, these are the pictures that are going to be included in the thumbnail. This is like the text that's going to go over it, filtering any of those images to make sure that they're how I want it to look, and then doing the actual title and description, which again, like by the time I get to that point, that's why I always forget things in the description box, right? Because it's like the last thing that you're doing and I forget, like, oh yeah, you said you were going to link this in the video. So always call me out in the comments, because when I see the comment, I can edit it. But yeah, so I just kind of rambled a lot about the process, but I mean, any given week, it's generally around 40 hours by the time like you do the filming, the editing, and then like Instagram stuff. I've kind of cut back because instead of doing 2 videos a week, I've just been doing 1 video a week. Someday at some point, I want to get back to doing more videos because I like love making videos, and I have so many ideas for videos, and I just have not had the energy right now in the newborn phase to like get all of them done that I would love to get done. But I know there will be a time where I can probably start again. So I hope that you bear with me and that you can understand for right now. But yeah, I hope it helps you understand a little bit more of the process. Brianna Smith asks, what are your favorite books? What do you do on date nights with your husband? What do you do when you feel overwhelmed and burnt out from all the work you do? God bless you and yours. I'll go backwards. What do I do when I feel burnt out and overwhelmed? At this point, I've been trying to rest more. Like, I'm taking things off my plate. I'm saying no. I'm okay with not doing it all. It took me a while to get to this place, but I think you have to remember, like what I said at the beginning, of your happiness at the end of the day. Like, you have to live with yourself. You have to sleep with yourself every single night. So, like, you have to be okay with everything that you've done in your life, and I would never want you to regret, like, I wish I would have done this because I just listened to all these other people and I did what they wanted me to do instead. Like, that's not a life. That's living for other people's approval, and that's not what is fair at all. Like, you have to live with you and what your heart and what your soul has called you to do. And if you're happy, you can help so many other people when you're happy. So yeah. What do you do on date nights with your husband? What do you think I do on date nights with my husband? No, we do a bunch of random stuff. He actually is usually the one, like, I like to say, like, to him, like, you plan, like, what you want to do, and I'm, you know, excited just to be with you, hanging out with you. So, gosh, the other day he, like, planned bowling, and then we went and got, like, something to eat afterwards, and then we went to Target to pick up a couple of things. So, like, we do try to, like, knock out sometimes errands that are just easier to run when it's just the two of us. Before he broke his toe, we go hiking. I think he has, like, kayaking planned for us because he can do that right now. A lot of times, though, we just, like, will go out to eat and hang out and talk, and it's just nice to have that adult time, like that one-on-one time. Oh, you asked me my favorite books. Best book that I feel like I've read since I've been here is called The Lies That Bind. It was an Emily Giffin book. But I'll have to, maybe in, like, another, I know, like, a couple of my last videos, like, I showed the books that I was reading, and they all were really good. But maybe I can, like, do a blog post or something of, like, the best books that I've read recently. So stay tuned to the blog because I will try to do that. All right, Megan asked, when will you do a house tour of the house you are in now? Do you guys want a house tour? Like, let me know in the comments. If that's something that you want to see, let me know and we can try to do one. Story time with twins mama. Any plans on traveling soon? Disney World. So we are traveling back to Ohio next month, and then I'm going to Disney World, but it's just like mom's trip with my best friend Dina in July. And other than that, I think we're just going to kind of wait and see if there's any, like, thing that we're really, like, itching to do. Our Tokyo Disney trip got canceled in 2020. We had a trip to Mexico that got canceled in 2020. I was supposed to go to Bali with my business mastermind in May of 2020. That got canceled. I was also supposed to go to, it was either, like, New York City, and I think she ended up moving it to Arizona. That got canceled too. And then I want to see my sister in Phoenix. Like, I haven't gotten to see her since she moved there. So I would love to do a lot of traveling to make up for the last year, because travel is definitely my love language. But let me know, where are you guys going? Like, where's the first trip that you're planning? I'm so curious. Let me know in the comments. Kinda Tabara asked, do you have a timeline on when you'll be ready with baby number 4, or are you content with 3? Will you try the swaying method to try for a girl? What's the swaying method? I haven't heard of this. What's the swaying method? Let me know that in the comments. I don't know what that is. I feel like right now, it's not that I could never see myself being pregnant again, because I could see a point where once Hayden gets a little bit older, kind of like when Landon and Presley got a little bit bigger, I was like, oh my God, I want a third one so badly. In the heat of this right now, though, I could tell you I'm like 50-50. I'm 50% like I could be done, and there's another side of me that's like, maybe when Hayden gets a little bit bigger, I'll change my mind. But in the thick of it right now, I'm so grateful for the family that I have, and yes. Do I think it would be cool to have a girl? Just so that Presley could have a sister too? Yes. And I think it's funny because my dad actually, he was a family of 4, and there was 2 boys and 2 girls, and yeah, so I just think about, like, them, and I think of how close they all were as, like, brothers and sisters, and, like, yeah, it was cool. So there's a side of me that I'm like, maybe, and my dad made me promise that I would use Rosalina, which was his grandma's name, if I have a girl. And so honestly, I feel like I was almost kind of like, maybe when I was pregnant with Hayden, I, like, really thought he was going to be a girl. We didn't find out. But I think, like, I was kind of like, oh, if my dad has anything to, like, really do with this, it's going to be a girl. And I've had a couple friends be like, well, maybe it's because your 4th is going to be a girl. So we'll see. I don't know. All right, I'm going to make this my last question. Ashley Perkins asked, any tips, advice for balancing kids, home, work, and self-care? I'm struggling as a new stay-at-home mom. I want to give you a big hug, because it is definitely a struggle. It's not easy. I think motherhood, at least for me, did not come naturally. I had to work really, really hard at getting a lot of things right. And I think that's like anything in life, right? Like, there are some jobs that some people can do really well and naturally, and then there are some jobs that people have to do more training for, get more support on, and even if they try, they're never going to be good as Joe Blow in the next cubicle. I don't know, just making that up, but do you know what I mean? So I think the first thing I would hope you do is just not compare yourself to anybody else, because your baby isn't comparable to any other baby. Like, that baby is so unique and perfect, and God designed that baby with all his glory, and you are the best mama possible for that baby. So I feel like that's like the one thing that I always tell myself when I feel like, oh, I'm like not doing this right, or like breastfeeding is really challenging, or my baby's not sleeping through the night, and I see other people on their stories be like, the baby slept through the night, and I want to say, like, I'm so happy for you. Like, any mom who's like, the baby finally slept through the night, I'm like, yes, go you, the baby slept through the night. Like, I hope the baby sleeps through the night every single night now, because I know how hard it is when your baby isn't. But you know, I think it can be easy to see that and be like, what am I doing wrong? Why is my baby not sleeping through the night, right? You're not doing anything wrong. It's your baby. Every baby does things differently. Like, they all crawl on a different day. They walk on a different day of their life. Like, every single baby is unique. Every single mama is unique. But like, you have that baby for a reason, because you're the best one for it. Like, God gave you that baby because you're the best mama. And just when it comes to balancing it all, I really, like, I'm trying to shift myself into thinking that I have to do it all. Like, I have this like great like mindset shift of like, instead of I didn't get it all done or I have to do it all, it's, you know what, I get to do all of these things, and I'm gonna do the best that I can on them today, and if I can't do them all today, I'll try again tomorrow. And like, I'm gonna focus on that more like abundance mindset and positive mindset shift on the things that are going on in my world and my life, just to try to feel more at peace and happier and positive. I feel like that is something that just since moving to Hawaii has, I don't know, sort of changed in me, and I like it. Like, I want to shift away from the needing everything to be perfect or needing to get it all done, into just appreciating things for what they are, and just knowing I'm doing my best, and doing my best is what is actually perfect, right? I hope that answers your question a bit. Let me just see. I'm still a perfectionist. I still want to like answer your question well. Balancing kids home. Also just asking for help. I feel I've talked about this on my podcast a bit recently, of just, I wish I would have asked for way more help as a first-time mom. So maybe you're in that position too, if you think like, I need to do all of this perfectly, I need to do it all myself, and I will tell you, no, like, you do not need to do it all. I hope that you say every little thing that actually needs to get done with your partner, so they are aware of all that needs to get done, and maybe show them a little more appreciation for you for all that you are doing, and then can also feel like, oh, I can be a part of this team and working with you to do all these things together too. I wish I had done a lot better job of that. So maybe just like expressing your needs and stuff that you need support on with your partner, because and not even just your partner, maybe it's even like your network, right? Like, and I know that's what's hard too, is with COVID, people have different boundaries of like what they're comfortable doing and helping with, but you know, just I think expressing it, and as things start to shift back, hopefully you can get more and more support, however you possibly can, because it takes a village. But all right, I just want to say thank you so much for being here, for listening to me, for supporting me. I mean it. Like, you know, on those days where I've really questioned, like, you know, questioned everything, I think back to the conversations we've had on premieres, and to some of the really kind comments and emails and stuff like that that I've gotten from you, and I can truly say, like, you always make my life better, whether it's motivating me for something, bringing a smile to my face, giving me that encouragement, giving me a purpose. And I just want to say thank you so much. Like, I love this community, and I never ever in a million years thought that I was going to go from Ohio to Oahu, right? And here we are, and I know I'm changed, but I think it's like for the better, and I hope that for you too, that if you're ready for a change and you want to see your life improve and get better, that you figure out whatever it is that you need to get you there, and that we can be on this journey of like constant growth and constant improvement and cheering each other on. But love you. Thank you again so much for being here, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. Just give me a sign. Baby, give me
your sun.